Hi everyone, Anna here. I'm 20 years old and I'm born and raised in New York City. Make sure you settle down and get comfortable because I'll be telling you a story that may shock you. Growing up, I was very close with my sister, who was 3 years older than me. My dad died when we were kids, so it really was just the three of us. We both lived with our mom in our small one-bedroom apartment in a shady neighborhood of the city. It was all we could afford with my mom's minimum wage job. Since she was always working all day, we barely got to see her a lot anyways. When I tell you that me and my sister, Miranda, were close, I meant it. She was my best friend. She would always give me advice whenever I needed it. It was thanks to her that I was able to pursue my dreams of being a nurse. We always joke around, and we never had any secrets from one another. Well, except one. A few months ago, my mom got sick and died. It was one of the darkest times in my life. My sister had it rough as well. There were days where we both didn't want to get out of bed. Losing both our parents when you're only 20 was something no one would ever want. Not to mention, my mom was the one working hard to make sure I was able to pay tuition too, since she wanted me to focus on school rather than getting a job and balancing both. That was when Miranda decided she was going to step up. Just like me, she was a nurse. It was around this time that the coronavirus hit our country. She was an essential frontline worker, and I looked up to her even more than ever. She was doing everything to help those who had fallen ill due to this new virus with no cure at the time. She put her life on the line, putting the needs of the people first. She put me first by helping me get back onto my feet after Mom's death, and helped pay for my tuition so I can graduate and help just like she was. My family was also very helpful in extending a helping hand however they can. That was when Luke came into our lives. Luke was my cousin. Well, technically not blood-related. My uncle had married someone who was pregnant with Luke with another guy. She ended up dying due to some complication, and my uncle raised Luke like he was his own. He was older than me by almost 5 or 6 years. When I was only 13, he would often come over and watch over me when my uncle used to live in New York. He taught me how to ride a bike and helped me in school when I was struggling. He was the kindest boy I knew. I remembered how heartbroken I felt when my uncle remarried and moved the whole family to California. I remembered my sister kissing him on the cheek to say goodbye, and for the first time, I felt jealous and hatred towards her. At the time, I thought it was because I didn't have any male figure in my life, not because of anything else. I never talked to Miranda about this either. And that was the one secret I kept from her. Imagine how surprised I was that Luke offered to come back into New York shortly after my mom passed. He was a software engineer graduate and was popular when he was in college. When he heard about my mom passing, he flew all the way to New York to support us. Not to mention, he moved literally in the apartment next door to us. But here's a huge secret. I have a major crush on him. You can't really blame me. Picture this. A well-built guy in his mid-20s. He was kind, funny, and so handsome. I swear every time he walked down the street, everyone stopped to stare. It was like he was a model. Along with how much he was making as well, everyone wanted him. I mean, I couldn't blame them either. Because of the coronavirus, he was working from home and stayed with us because global airlines stopped flights. During this time, Luke and I became closer because he often wanted to keep me company while Miranda was working on the front lines. I thought it was the perfect time to win him into liking me. After all, he was everything I wanted in a boyfriend. He seemed to always understand me perfectly. He was able to tell when I was happy or sad easily. I thought he had felt the same way. Imagine how crushed I was when he came into my apartment one day with a Tiffany & Co. bag, a singular rose, and he was dressed as if he was going to take me out to a fancy restaurant. My heart sped at the thought of him asking me to be his girlfriend in a romantic gesture. I had been telling him how me and my sister wanted a big romantic gesture when being asked out. It consisted of maybe a small promise ring, I know, it seemed a bit much if you think about it. But a girl can dream, right? I remembered gasping out of surprise, thinking he was going to ask me out. But no. He said, I know it's Miranda's birthday soon and I'm planning to surprise her with this ring. I've actually been in love with her since I was 18. Would it be okay if I practiced my rehearsal on you? I swore I could feel my heart shattering that day. The first 2 days were from me crying and refusing to tell him what was wrong. After all, how can you tell the guy that you liked that he was the reason you were crying? I remained silent about it and declined to even see him. I was beyond furious about what he said. I had a crush on him, and I liked him so much. Why did he choose her and not me? For the second time in my life, I was angry at my sister for something that wasn't her fault. I felt disgusted about myself to see them both so happy when I should be the one he was dating. After all, what did she have that I didn't? In the heat of the moment, I did everything I can to get him attracted to me in any way possible. I started to wear more revealing clothes now that summer was here, and he noticed. He started to compliment me more about the way I dressed. I started to make him breakfast since my sister was usually out of the house before the sun even rose. It carried on to me making him lunch and dinner too. It was like I was the wife and he was my husband. I would ask him how his day was, and then we'll go from there. I felt like I could talk to him for hours without getting bored. When he needed support and felt stress about his job, I made sure to always have my door open for him. I comforted him however I can. Since my sister was a frontline worker, I slowly wiggled my way into his heart. I felt like I had won and my sister wouldn't even mind. I mean, she's working and doesn't have time for a boyfriend anyways, with her trying to save so many lives of this invisible enemy. I was becoming his rock, something I wanted to be for as long as I remembered. One night after dinner, we both had a glass or two of wine. I told him how much I liked and wanted him. That I liked him since I was 13. I think in blind rage, I even said how my sister had other boyfriends before him, but I saved even my first kiss for him. I didn't know what came over me that day when I said all that. Yet I was over the moon when he got up from across the dinner table over to me, bent down, and kissed me right there. Let me tell you, I don't think anyone's kiss would ever make my heart flutter and beat as wildly as his. He was my first and only crush. The kiss was everything I ever expected and more. It was everything I've seen in movies and from romance novels. The kiss already told me that he was the one for me. The kiss led up to us making love in my bed. It was everything I expected, and I felt myself loving him even more after that night. I thought he felt the same as well. I mean, our lovemaking proved it, didn't it? I thought for sure this time would be different, that he would leave my sister for me because I confessed how much I loved him, even giving away my virginity to him. Imagine my sadness when I woke up the next morning to find myself alone in my own bed. I was going to get dressed to go to his apartment next door when I realized my sister had come home already and said to not disturb her and her boyfriend today because she misses him, and they needed time alone. I was furious. It turns out that the love of my life, our cousin, not only slept with me, but also my sister right after. I was disgusted as well. I thought he was the perfect gentleman, but turns out this was all just a lie. He went behind my back and then my sister's back too. It seemed as if I was the dirty little secret. I saw them enjoy their time together, and my cousin refused to even acknowledge what happened that night that meant everything to me. The more I think about it, the more my stomach churns and anger consumes me. What should I do? I don't want to lose my sister because she's one of my best friends, but I can't keep going on about keeping this secret. It's not fair for her, and definitely not for me either. Yet at the same time, I know if I bring up the fact that I slept with her boyfriend, she'll most likely kick me out of the apartment and stop supporting my tuition too. This is my second secret I've kept from my sister, and it's again about my cousin. Please leave a like in this video and also comment, what do you think I should do? What would you do in my shoes?